It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
Hello and welcome. He is Gary McNamara. I'm Eric Harley. Gary, how are you?
Well, I got to tell you, we were talking last night. And I was talking to a couple of my buddies yesterday in a group text, and I was telling them what I was saying on the air, that with the Golden Globes and everything else, that we looked at the rundown of all the different winners and nominees, and I looked at you and said, God, am I out of the loop when it comes to pop culture? I've heard of two of them, but I haven't seen anything that's on there. And then I saw yesterday TMZ had these people got a divorce, and I looked, I go, I have no idea who they are.
Yeah.
And the same thing with sports.
Right.
I'm just not paying as much attention to sports anymore, but who the hell needs all of that when you've got all this state trading, Providence trading, and this is better than fantasy football.
Listen, I just want to say to the very nice people of Canada, of Greenland, and of Panama, don't call the cops. Things will go much smoother. Don't make a lot of noise. We'll all be able to go home.
Well, it's getting to be really interesting. Ontario Premier Doug Ford said, well, wait a minute. Okay, we want Alaska and Minnesota. And then you had, this is...
You're not getting Alaska. I'll fight for that, and I've never been there.
and this is Elizabeth May from the Green Party in the Canadian Parliament. All right?
Yeah.
Here's what she had to say yesterday. Okay, here we go.
Hey, Donald, have we got a deal for you? You think we want to be the 51st state? Nah, but maybe California would like to be the 11th province.
And also she talked about taking Oregon and Washington. I mean, this is better than fantasy football, isn't it?
Oh. We're on. Yeah, let's have this conversation. Now, again, we will trade you the people. We're not giving you the land, the territory. No. We're going to trade you the liberals. We'll send the liberals. You send the people down.
Look. I just don't think it's worth it. When we're talking about drafting provinces and states. I mean, I don't even Alaska for Alberta. No. Alberta for California, yes. And we'll throw in Puerto Rico because Puerto Rico loves a ton of Canadian bands. So they might go, and we switching to territory, and then Canadians, the snowbirds, can go to Puerto Rico.
Yeah. Oh, and Goa, as all of us fishermen here in Texas are calling it now, Gulf of America. We call it Goa for short. It's already catching on. I've got another name if that doesn't fly. I think that we should honor the cast of The View, call it the Bay of Pigs.
Well, when Trump said that yesterday, I was thinking to myself, all right, who actually gets to name all these places?
Yeah.
Who's in charge of naming all these places? Can Trump do it through executive order? And if Trump does it through executive order, can Mexico put through an executive order that would counter? I mean, who's the official person who names and labels all these places around the world, and why do they have that authority?
Look.
Isn't this trolling great?
I love it because, typically what I was thinking is what would happen by now would be you would have a spokesperson, not even Trump himself. It would be the spokesperson for the person who even brought something up in the conversation. By now would be in front of everybody sweating. Oh, no. What he meant by that was, no. He was just having a conversation. No. What we're thinking of is setting up a base in Greenland, a bigger base in Greenland. And, what we're thinking about, expanding the territory for the Coast Guard. No. And instead of, the whole 51st state with Canada, and everybody's going, look, I don't think he's serious about that. Instead of him coming out going, look, we're not serious about that. He's going, no, we're serious about that. We're going to take Greenland. We're going to take Panama. We're going to take back the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America. What's next?
Take back the Gulf.
I know, right?
Take back. Did we have it to begin with?
We have about half of it.
Well,
I don't even think it's half of it.
Look, I'm sorry. Yeah. I'm going to total disagreement with Trump about annexing Canada and making it the 51st state. We don't want Canada. Yeah. We don't want another state that has 2 liberal senators. End of story. I win. He's wrong.
Yeah, because if we're going to do that, we're going to have to expand Alberta. Basically.
All right.
You know what I mean?
Canada becomes one state, Alberta, except for Alberta.
Yeah, one
Alberta
state.
becomes another state. Okay, then I could go with that.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, is there any money exchanged?
Or the people of Alberta take over the entire state, of which would be Canada.
Alberta would become the capital of Canada.
Well, here's the thing. I was thinking about Greenland, too. Because
No, we can't do that. No, because it'd still be I'm trying to figure out how we get 2 conservative senators out of Canada. I don't think that's possible.
Well, here's the thing. It's going to be tricky constitutionally. But we deport all the liberals. I don't know where we send them, but they're going to want to go because it's now under the control of Donald Trump. They're going to want to leave. They're going to want to leave. I love this.
Everybody. We buy Canada. Everybody leaves except the people in Alberta.
We're putting them on planes. Where are you going? We don't even know yet. We don't even know.
But let's ignore the whole Constitution and all of it. We're not going to talk because this is like sports.
Yeah.
Where everything is pure speculation and nothing is based on any type of reality whatsoever.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Well, I thought too with Greenland, all right, who would be coming across their southern border, right? Well, it would be Canadians from the Northern Territory. Now, these are some hardy Canadians, right? I mean, these people, you don't even have to enforce the border. If they can get across it, if they're that hardy to live in the Northern Territory or get through the Northern Territory, just let them in. It was interesting because the military strategic conversation started. The New York Post had a rundown on that. You look at that situation, and you can have that conversation on strategy, but why start the seriousness now? Let's have some fun with this whole thing because everybody's just losing their mind. I wake up, I took a nap in the morning, and I woke up, and it's like, Greenland. Oh, is that a thing again? Apparently it's a thing again. Oh, and Canada's still in play, because, it's south of Greenland. Nothing is south of Greenland, except everything. I mean, nothing is north of Greenland. There's by the way, George W. Bush wanted to take over Greenland, but only because he thought it was actually secretly the North Pole, and that's where Santa lived. But it never happened. Look, there are a lot of things that I think strategically, what the point they make in the New York Post, by the way, on Greenland, is setting up all the, also establishing, taking, mineral rights, mining of certain things in order to position ourselves and strategically against China. And
that's the Panama Canal is a China thing also.
Yeah, and the whole Greenland thing too. They're folding that into it. I don't know how far it goes because on mining, we have to get our stuff in order here, right? Domestically of what we control here. Those are the things that you and I have been talking about.
No, but the whole point is, if you get Greenland and the Democrats take over again, well, then they're just going to shut down everything in Greenland. So it might be better if Greenland remains another country and we work out some other kind of deal to extract what we want from Greenland. Because Democrats will, because they're not changing. They're not changing.
No.
Fetterman said yesterday on the Lake and Riley bill, said if we can't get 7 Democrats to sign on to something as logical as this, then this is why we lost.
Yep.
And he's...
That turns out to be, on a number of things, he's right.
Fetterman becoming the voice of reason for the Democrats.
Well, there's the thing, too. He hasn't fully crossed over, obviously. But there are things, you and I brought it up, about where the GOP could have, I don't know if you want to call them allies, but on certain issues, certainly some votes from the left in the Senate. And there's one or two, maybe a senator from Arizona, and maybe, again, depends on the issue, Fetterman. And he's right on that. But the left is going in, his party's going the opposite direction. The border's secure, Fetterman. Nothing's wrong. There's nothing, you don't have to worry about it. You're safe. There's no outrage on the left. No outrage on the Lake and Riley thing. You didn't see outrage.
No.
You call somebody the wrong pronoun, and they'll protest at City Hall or in your front yard all day or for a week or for a month or for a summer. That's the insanity of your party, Mr. Fetterman. And there are a lot of things that are going that direction, and you're not going to be able to change that. Anybody calling him a maverick yet?
That only works one way.
Exactly.
That doesn't work. If a Democrat cooperates or looks at the other party and says, if a Democrat looks at the Republicans and says, well, I think a lot of what they're talking about is logical, then they're a fascist.
Right.
Oh, by the way, that was great yesterday. And the number of liberals out there saying, if Trump is a fascist, why are all Democrats, saying, yep, he's in there and we did the right thing and it went smoothly? Liberal Democrats are going crazy.
Yeah.
And I think National Review actually had a article saying, what happened to fascism? Yeah. Either that or the Wall Street Journal. I forgot who it was. I'll find it here. And also Charlemagne, the same thing. Oh, I called him a fascist because of the things he says, but everybody else called him a fascist, and now they don't call him a fascist anymore. They brag about the fact that it was a true, smooth transition to get the fascist in power.
Yeah.
So what's going on with them? Yeah. We got all this audio. We got a ton of audio coming up. We'll have a Democratic strategist. If you've been listening to this show for a long time, we've got audio from this Democrat strategist that lays out all the problems with the Democrats since Obama. And it's exactly what you and I have said over the last decade. Right. Exactly what you and I have said.
Yeah.
And this is a Democratic strategist.
Yeah.
And so we'll get to that. We'll read parts of this column from Rich Lowry, National Review. Sorry, Canada, we actually don't want you. Oh, my God.
It's so much fun.
Oh, and then they're freaking out because of Zuckerberg.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's just...
Community notes at Facebook.
And then...
By the way, those aren't eggs you're eating. I don't believe that's a real cat. What does community notes say? Yeah.
They just absolutely freaked out about that. Actually, though, my favorite one from yesterday, because this was a repeat, Hochul said it before. Here Hochul said, well, the fee, the congestion fee in New York was going to be $15. Now it's only going to be $9. We've saved you $6.
Yeah, imagine that. I come home. My wife and I will be celebrating 34 years of marital bliss coming up this weekend. I come home with a gift for me. Imagine this. Honey, I bought a collector's item, Fender Strat, 1961, 59, whatever it takes. It was $12,000. The guy took I saved you $2,000 on my gift.
I mean, think about this. How stupid you have to be to actually come out with that statement number of times attempting to convince the people of New York that you're saving them money.
Right.
I mean, it's just, how stupid do you have to be? I hate throwing these labels out, but these are people that are adults. They're adults. They're not children. The only thing you can look at and go, they're idiots and they're stupid. Because who else would try to convince? You can't convince liberals you're saving them money. In New York liberals aren't going, well, doggone it. Kathy Hochul, it was supposed to be 15. It's down to 9. She saved us $6 a trip.
The person that's greatly increased your daily taxes there in New York is a hero. Don't you forget that.
It's unbelievable. What a great show we have coming up today. 866-90 Red Eye.
This report is brought to you by Shell Rotella. With advanced synthetic technology, is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance. Starting and charging system-related issues are one of the most common causes of winter breakdowns. So when your batteries talk, it's important you listen. Knowing the warning signs that could indicate your electrical system needs attention can help you avoid getting stuck out in the cold this winter. Your truck's inability to crank at the proper speed is the most obvious sign that a battery-related issue is present. If you experience any sluggishness when cranking your engine, get a full electrical system check from a trusted service provider. Continuing to crank a vehicle with low or inadequate voltage will damage the starter and can cost you uptime down the road.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley and I'm Gary McNamara. Man, the wildfires.
Oh, man.
Man, did you see the video James Woods put it out of the flames right in his, then he evacuated. He believes his home is gone because every other home is gone.
Yeah.
We're talking about the actor who has been hilarious on X over the past couple of years. And you were telling me how he has helped so many people in previous wildfires.
In recent years, because he has a pretty prominent social media presence, the liberals love to, keep track of him and what he's saying on social media. But he went full on helping people during wildfires previously to help them get the, information, but also help that they needed, assistance that they needed while they were being evacuated or before evacuation. So, I pray for everybody that's right now at risk for losing their homes. It's maddening. I saw this couple on YouTube, and they talked about, they bought some land in California, and they said, one of the first things we have to do is we have to thin out our forestation to prevent the, wildfires. And that's something that people have been critical of the state of California, the government, the state government, for not being more aggressive on that. California is beautiful, just beautiful. But you're going to have to preserve that beauty by thinning out some of those areas. And, that happens every time there's wildfires, but it's...
I live about 22 miles from downtown Dallas.
Right.
And this is a big place.
Yeah.
But I live in a lake where there's a ton of Army Corps of Engineer and state land and forest land.
Yeah.
They do control burns every single year.
Yep.
Every single year you see control. And then they promote it. There's signs all over the place. This isn't a wildfire. This is a controlled burn because, we've had wildfires in Texas, as you know, mostly in the rural areas.
Right.
It has reached suburbs at times, but nothing like you've seen in California.
Yeah, right.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
It's Friday Radio. He's Eric Harley. I'm Gary McNamara. What a bizarre day it was yesterday. Oh, by the way, download our Red Eye Radio app, okay? Do it now.
Do it now.
You can listen whenever you want.
And thank you.
All right, so Ben Shapiro posted earlier. It's a map of the world, and it says the United States, and then where Canada is, it says the 51st state, and then Mexico. Basically, the place on the other side of the wall is what Mexico is. And then Gulf of America.
Yeah.
And then for Greenland, it says Trump land. And then the Atlantic Ocean is the anti-European moat.
Oh, my gosh. I love that. That's great. That's great.
Oh, look, we got so much to talk about, but this didn't get as much publicity as I thought. Listen to this. What were we talking about the other day when we were talking about? Hey, we were talking about alcohol. I forgot what it was. When we were talking about alcohol, we were talking about what?
I don't know. I'm sober now. I can't remember.
Well, I forgot we were talking. It's
what related to alcohol? I think it was the study, one of the studies that said drinking is
No, drinking. Oh, that's right. Drinking.
Oh, the warning label.
One drink or less.
Yeah, or less. That's right.
Less.
Yeah.
Like,
Surgeon General.
Increases your chances of cancer. And then we read the other, Elisa Finley op-ed piece that said, no, in fact, the latest actual research by the federal government doesn't say that.
Right.
And it was talking about the Surgeon General and how the Surgeon General under the Biden administration is completely and totally just political. This came out yesterday, did not get as much publicity because we were worried about Canada becoming the 51st state. The Food and Drug Administration is moving forward with a regulatory rule in the final days of the Biden administration that would effectively ban cigarettes in the United States.
All right.
It would ban cigarettes currently on the market in favor of products with lower nicotine levels. And which could end up boosting business for cartels operating on the black market. Can you imagine? Well, they've legalized weed and, we're sneaking cigarettes across the border now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Biden's ban is a gift with the bow and balloons to organized crime cartels.
Yeah.
Chinese organized crime or the Russian mafia. It's going to keep America smoking. It's going to make the streets more violent, said Rich Marionis, a former assistant director of the U.S. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. Oh, it's the ATFE. And the current chair of the Tobacco Law Enforcement Network told Fox News Digital of the proposal. The FDA confirmed on Monday that as of January 3rd, the tobacco product standard for nicotine level of certain tobacco products had completed a regulatory review and that the proposed rule has not yet been finalized. The proposed rule, tobacco product standards for nicotine level of certain tobacco products, is displayed in the Office of Management and Budget system as having completed regulatory review as of January 3rd. An FDA spokesman told Fox Digital, as the FDA has previously said, a proposed product standard to establish a maximum nicotine level to reduce the addictiveness of cigarettes and certain other tobacco products, when finalized, is estimated to be among the most impactful population-level actions in the history of the U.S. Tobacco product regulation. At this time, the FDA cannot provide any further comment until it is published. The Fox News reached out to the White House regarding concerns over the proposal if it were to take effect, but did not receive a response. So you're not talking about the FDA coming out and saying, look, the carcinogens in the smoke is bad and causes lung cancer.
Right.
They want to hit the nicotine level.
Right, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this question. Does reducing, it's like I always think about the low-flow toilets. And it's like, okay, I flushed this thing 6 times now today.
Right. Exactly.
And
Or
it's
you
like,
get YouTube to work, to work around it. A YouTuber comes up with a way to work around it, right?
yeah.
Every time.
But my point would be, if you have less nicotine in a cigarette, does that mean people will smoke more cigarettes?
Yes. Yes, you're going to get your nicotine fix. Because if you're not going to ban them altogether, basically it would, again, be in favor of lower nicotine products. They're going to consume more products. If your goal is to, quote, destroy big tobacco, end quote, you're going to raise their profits. They're going to sell a lot more product because people are going to need to get their nicotine fix. Somebody said it years ago. It's one of the most addictive things you can, be engaged with. And I've never smoked. I mean, I've tried smoking cigarettes, Look, I was 6 years old. My dad hands me a cigarette and says, "Here, try that out." As kids, we all yeah.
I got that.
And there's beer in the fridge. But it's as kids, right? You sneak off and somebody's older brother had some. And then we take a puff, and then next thing you know, we're sick. So I went that route. I didn't smoke cigarettes. But people that have been smoking for a long, long time, I don't know what the addiction is like. I know a number of people have quit. I know it's possible. You should quit. But this is not a fix. This is a driver for the cartels. It's a driver for, if you're going to keep it legal at some level, if you're just going to lower the amount of nicotine that they're allowed to sell, they're just going to sell more of it. You're going to raise the profits. It's going to be a boom for that industry if it goes that direction.
Yeah, for me, it was my brother. I don't know how old we were. We might have been 12, 13. I don't know. But my brother got cool cigarettes. Now, to show you how long ago this was.
Yeah.
The reason we got the cool cigarettes was because of the television commercials for cool cigarettes.
Yeah.
And you would see it and it would say cool menthol. And it would be like a mountain stream.
Yeah.
And, there'd be this, ice around the mountain stream coming down and somebody smoking the cigarette. And as a, however old we were, 11, 12, 13, it was like, wow, that's got to be the most pleasurable experience.
Right.
You put this thing in your mouth and you smoke it, and it's like a cool mountain stream.
Yeah.
So I'll never forget my brother, myself, and 2 of our neighbors. We go behind our garage, and my brother pulls it out, and we light it up. I take the first. I guess this is more of a drug terminology, but technically it would be a hit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I take the first toke. No, that would also be a drink.
Right.
My first puff. Okay, a puff is a cigarette, right?
Yeah.
You don't take a puff of a joint. You take a puff of a cigarette. So my first puff, and it was like, this doesn't taste like a cool mountain stream. This really sucks.
Yeah.
And
right.
so we all have our individual cigarettes. I don't think any of us finished one cigarette. It was like probably 3 or 4, inhales, and it was like, this sucks. None of us ever took up smoking. The only other time I ever smoked, was when I remember when I was a steel worker one time and I was putting in 12-hour days.
Yeah.
And I just said, one of the guys, I said, I couldn't stay awake. And I said, give me one. And I took like 1 or 2 puffs of a cigarette.
Yeah.
I could feel the nicotine, but it was like the only way I can describe it is a high that made me nauseated.
Yeah.
That was it. And then it was like, okay,
yeah.
I'll drink coffee instead. I'll never forget that. I had to be maybe about 24, 25 at the time. And like I said, I took the 1 or 2 puffs and went, ooh.
As an adult, had a conversation with a friend of mine. We were out at a restaurant one night, and he goes, I'm going to go outside and smoke. I said, all right. let's tell the server, we're not leaving. We're just gonna. I'm gonna go out with you, so we can carry on our conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And there were other people with us, but don't take our plates. We're not done. So we go outside, and we started the conversation. Somehow we got to. I told him I don't understand the buzz, right?
Mm-hmm.
Russell Crowe was on with Joe Rogan. This is, I don't know, a couple months ago. And they were talking about, because he smokes. He said, I can't do the patches or anything else. It's the delivery method of the cigarette gives me the buzz or whatever. And he says it gives me the edge of my work. And I'm like, okay. And remember, he did.
Well, what happened to you?
He played Jeffrey Wygant. Well, the point is that they were talking about the buzz, right? Well, with my situation, I was asking my buddy, I said, all right, what is it that you feel? And he goes, well, here. Now, I guess I was, I don't know, maybe 12 or so, the last time I'd even inhaled a cigarette or even held a cigarette. And he says, here, take one of mine. And I took a few puffs off of it. Same thing. I didn't finish my plate. But smokers will tell you, like Russell Crowe was talking, he goes, because he played Jeffrey Wygant. Remember the movie about the tobacco industry and the whole thing?
Oh, okay.
Remember that?
Yeah.
And so he kind of railed against big tobacco, the industry, in that episode of Joe Rogan.
As he's smoking? And
he's smoking. And he goes, it's too addictive. It's too addictive. Well, other people have quit, and it's for your health. There's nothing more important than your health.
For me, that when we tried it behind the garage, that was one thing. But I remember, and I talked about this when we were talking about the Catholic church that I grew up in that had a bowling alley and a bar.
Yeah.
And our Boy Scouts would meet, we'd meet Friday night, and the secondhand smoke from the bowling alley would make me sick.
Yeah.
Because it just permeated through the entire building. I'll never forget that. And so that was really the first thing. That was it wasn't the first time, but the secondhand smoke made me sick. And so really, I just always avoided cigarettes, except that one time when I was a steel worker and wanted to stay awake and took I can't remember if I took a puff or two, but it just made me nauseated. I could feel the high. I could feel the buzz, though.
No,
I felt the buzz.
I definitely felt something. But, to Russell Crowe's point, and remember, the late, great Don Imus. Imus in the morning news time, 48 minutes past the hour. Coming up, Chuck has the news. And he chewed the nicotine gum. It was actually kind of became one of his things, part of his shtick. Because he was in the studio for hours a day. He quit smoking, but he chewed that gum religiously for a long time. But it's the nicotine. The point is that, with Russell Crowe, and I was trying to ask my friend, what is the buzz? I get physical addiction. I know how that works. Mm-hmm. But the buzz has to be there to get you on that chain to where your body becomes addicted to it. And that's what I was curious. You know what I mean?
It was when I did it, it was a sick buzz that I didn't want again.
Right. With other addictions and drugs, it's like, the first time you do it, you're like, whoa, I totally get it or whatever. And then people get addicted to it. I've never done heroin, but they say it's the most addictive. Someone made the claim several years ago that nicotine is just as addictive. I can't tell you that. I don't know. But clearly it's addictive. And the point being is that if you're going to outlaw them, the black market is going to rule. If you're going to lower the amount that they can sell in any given product or put in any product they manufacture, then they're going to make more profits because people will want their buzz.
The first thing I thought of is if they put in this rulemaking before Trump becomes president, then Trump comes in and says, no, I'm rescinding that because it'll help the black market and people smoke more cigarettes. The left is going to go nuts. Can you see this? Trump says cigarettes should remain legal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, here we go. Exactly.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Ton of polls out there.
Yeah.
And this is really fascinating. Do you know that new Gallup poll, Americans to remember Joe Biden as the second worst president in history?
Wow. Yeah.
And Trump is not the first.
By the way, there is we have sources, Red Eye Radio sources at in Washington, inside the Beltway insiders that tell us the president on his last day will give himself the Presidential Medal of Presidents.
Top of the Hour News is brought to you by House Products. Visit houseproducts.com.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara, all across America, Canada, Greenland, the Gulf of America, the anti-European moat,
And Panama.
and Panama.
The good news is for the fine people of Panama, and the whole canal thing, you're going to get some old Van Halen CDs, and you're going to love them. It's going to happen. Greenland. Again, just don't call the cops. Everything will go a lot more smoothly. And Canada, you had to have seen this coming. You had to have. I mean, we're right here.
Come on, Canada.
We're the world superpower.
Yeah, come on.
And we're right here.
Did you really think it was going to last?
It's not. It's not going to last.
Look, you're having a problem supporting professional hockey outside of Toronto.
Well, and here's exactly.
And maybe Montreal.
And we
come on. If
we might let you keep hockey, by the way. We might.
Curling is gone.
Oh, it's over for curling.
Curling's gone.
No.
Yeah.
That's not.
And that's gone.
Now, there's going to be a lot of those little broom things that are going to be on eBay. But it's whatever they use. And I'll say this.
And Anne Murray will become an American artist.
Absolutely. She is American. We love her. We love Anne Murray. Bryan Adams, too.
Gordon Lightfoot.
And a few things from Loverboy. It's going to be fine.
No.
What?
Loverboy stays Canadian.
Well, we've already dissected working for the weekend.
We don't
I'm not working for just 2 days off, you chump.
We don't grandfather Loverboy.
Yeah.
And Nickelback, they will be deported.
Yeah, no, that is not going to happen. We're going to disband them.
Now,
one of the things about, by the way, Canada is I'll say this one word. De Beers. And I don't mean the drink. The mining in Canada. You had to have known we were coming for it, right? Come on. You got oil, diamonds, and stuff. We're coming after it. Come on. You knew it was going to happen. You knew it was going to happen. We're going to be one happy family.
This one will get me in trouble.
Yeah.
Rush will become an American band.
Oh! Ooh! Ho, ho, ho. Oh, okay. Wow. You thought the Canadian trucker protest was big. Holy cow, did you step in it? Wow. I didn't say that. Gary McNamara said that. Dude, we're not trying to start a war. What are you doing?
All right. You know what I'm thinking?
It's the first time in your entire radio career you're going to have to take something back.
Well, you know what reminded me of?
Apologize.
The most true to life movie that Michael Moore ever made, Canadian Bacon.
Yeah.
When John Candy and and he's the sheriff of Niagara County, USA, and they end up in Niagara Falls, Ontario for it looks it's not an NHL game, it's like a what is junior A hockey game, whatever, and John Candy's in the film as an American, and he's like they're insulting hockey and insulting a bunch of things in Canada, and was it Candy that goes, or I can't remember, Candy, one of the guys says, and their beer sucks. And then everything stops.
Silence.
Everything just stops. The players come up over the boards, and they're trying to beat the hell out of John Candy and the Americans there. That's Oh, what a Michael. It's the best movie Michael Moore ever made,
and the closest to the truth he's ever been in any of his productions.
Well, and the thing is, that's
including his documentaries.
Just so people know, that's where I started in talk radio, was in Niagara Falls.
Yeah.
USA, not
right.
But we had a ton of Canadian listeners, and so the power plants, right? The Sir Adam Beck power plant, on the other side, where that's where John Candy goes in, and remember, it's the old couple, the old couple that's running the grid for Canada. By the way, that's sort of what Texas has become. So we did follow that. It's like,
yeah, pretty much.
I'm not gonna be able to make it through 4 years.
No, this is too much fun.
Yeah,
this is too much fun. Look, we're gonna have our moments, but this is too much fun.
Oh, I know.
This is way too much fun.
Like I said yesterday, I started thinking to myself, this is better than fantasy football. Everybody's talking about what province we'll get and what states Canada's talking about they want and everything. It really is better than fantasy football. It's better than sports. It really is.
I love it. By the way, to our friends in Australia, g'day, mate. It's going to happen, right? We're coming down. We're going to call it the South. Lower Alabama. That's what that's going to be.
Wait a minute.
We're taking the whole thing.
No, wait a minute. I lived in Lower Alabama.
Right, but you've never lived in Down Under.
Which I don't know if they still call it Lower Alabama, but that was the Panhandle.
Right. Yeah.
I lived in
LA.
Navarre. We always called it L.A.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And that's because when I lived in, I'm not kidding you, when I lived in Navarre, Florida, which is between Fort Walton Beach and Pensacola, there was a bar. Oh, is it Highway 98? Yeah, it's Highway 98. And it was a little bit off the beaten path, down sort of a dirt road.
Oh, cool.
People were walking.
Takes a long time for the cops to get there.
People were walking barefoot in the bar. And that's when I went,
oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Lower
Yeah,
Alabama. I understand.
Right.
Now everybody is ticked off now. By the way, Alabama has one of the best string of golf courses. I forgot what they call it. Is it the Robert Jones track? It's a ton of different golf courses you can play there. In fact, I spent a lot of time in Alabama when I was there. I've spent a lot of time in Huntsville, I love Alabama. I really do. So we're not. We just have fun. Including having fun with Canada.
And for the fine folks of Alabama, Trump has confirmed he plans to keep Alabama as part of the U.S. Just to be clear, everybody's waking up. Should we call in or something? Should we ask? Are we still part of the country? It's.
Very quickly, I just wanted to hit this because I don't want to forget about this because I think it's really important. I do think that we did talk about this a few months ago when we're talking about the wildfires in California. We talked about James Woods, and who believes now his house is gone. The actor, and you had mentioned that he had posted that insurance companies in California
he posted several hours ago that one of the major insurance companies had pulled out of California. This is something that's actually been going on for years. You and I have talked about it. And what has happened is that the cost of rebuilding in California for these insurance companies got to where they were basically going to go out of business if they kept insuring. That's just the way it is. So you have a lot of people, to the point, by the way, that California came up with a non-renewal moratorium. the state came in, and it was for certain zip codes. This goes back several years. For certain zip codes, that the insurance company in those zip codes, and again, it's based on a number of conditions, like an emergency declaration. Within a year of an emergency declaration, they could not issue a non-renewal. They couldn't cancel on you within a year of that emergency declaration. Again, it applied to certain zip codes. That's how bad it got. Basically,
doesn't
the
mean
state government.
Well,
came in.
They could raise their rates, though, right?
Oh, through the roof.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happened. So it's become cost prohibitive. And now you just can't. It is a full-on crisis in terms of fire insurance in California. Because who's going to be in that game? Who's going to say, okay, yeah, you pay us a premium every month and or every year, whatever it is, and we'll cover you for fires when it's enormously expensive. We've talked about the state policy, and there's a lot of criticism of California over the years for not doing the proper deforestation, thinning out the forests to prevent the spread of the wildfires, to help prevent, it wouldn't totally prevent, but to help prevent the spread of the wildfires. At the very least, by the way, because the greatest asset is the human, is the life. And so it would, if it even helped slow down the spread of the wildfires, then it should be a policy of any state that suffers that kind of occurrence on a regular basis, like California does, because it means that people will have more time to evacuate and get out of the way. There was a story coming across just a little while ago. Elderly residents evacuated with no shoes as fires race across Los Angeles County. This is the Palisades fire that has burned nearly 3,000 acres. Los Angeles has declared an emergency. But when you look at this situation with the insurance companies, you're either going to pay through, I don't know what you would pay. I mean, at a certain rate, you're basically self-insuring, right? I mean, at some point, there's a threshold where it's like, well, wait a minute. Why would I give that money to the insurance company in case it happens? I'll just keep it in the bank and use that money to rebuild. But James Wood's posting also that he just went through they were doing work on their home and it just ended up, they just finished their work on their home a month or two ago. He's posting a lot about this. By the way, for those that didn't hear it earlier, he's been very active on social media during wildfires in previous years and helping people get information, helping connect people to get help and services to get properly evacuated, get horses out, whatever the case may be. I mean, we're looking at this again in these wildfires, these videos, and he posted a few, and people are evacuating and they're driving down this road, and it just looks like they're driving through hell.
Well, the one he posted from his backyard.
Yeah.
And I mean, before he evacuated, there's a swimming pool, and it looks like, fire is right outside the swimming pool.
It's right there.
Right there, and I'm like, wow.
In fact, I'm gonna repost some of these on X, because I'm sure a lot of people are seeing them, but he's posting some stuff that I think is unique to a lot of stuff that's unique to his page. And he's been, I think, very helpful in years past. And now, obviously, 11 hours ago, he posted that video that you talked about, and it has one word with the post, leaving. And you can see it. It's my thoughts and prayers are for everyone in this situation, and in hopes that they get out safely. But look, we went through a partial house fire one time, and it wasn't something like this. It wasn't an outside force, wildfires, getting closer and closer and closer. This looks
terrifying.
So scary, So
Absolutely
scary.
terrifying.
I got a call from I was at work. I got a call from my wife. Are you coming home soon? I said, oh, yeah, I was about to leave. Well, don't stop along the way because, we had a house fire. And rebuilding in that very small, nothing in comparison to this from smoke damage and everything else that we had. It was so disruptive and so disconcerting. And I can't imagine being in a situation now. And there's, by the way, stories in recent months that the media has written about people who lost everything and they're not, there was one couple that lost their home and this time didn't have the insurance because the insurance companies wouldn't renew. And if they did, it was going to be cost prohibitive. I don't, it's not just the policy of the state on deforestation. It's other policies of the state that make it so expensive to build and live in a state like California. The U.S. Census Bureau lists California as number one when it comes to poverty. Based on something you talked about for years, they finally got around to it. And it's not what you make, it's what you make in relation to what you have to spend, the cost of living in that area, which is why they're number one in poverty.
That actually came up from a podcast I was watching when I was on vacation from Canada that talked about, if you look at, and I think they were comparing, it was someplace in, they're comparing Seattle, I think it was to Vancouver. And they were like, the average housing price is about the same, but when you look at the amount of money of the average household makes, it was like 40% lower in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And they were like, that's the problem.
Yeah.
Because the problem always is, it's not, because they used to judge poverty by, okay, what do you make? And we always stated that's wrong. You can't do it by what you make. It's what you make and what you have after you pay for everything that is deemed necessary for you, not the luxury items, but what's deemed necessary for you to survive. It's what you have left over, which determines, your quality of life when it comes to money, when it comes to poverty. You've got to use that. And once the Census Bureau did, that's when California went to number one in poverty.
Right. And it's these all of these policies in California that make it so expensive are a choice. The people, the citizens there, vote for these state policies.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Brought to you by FPPF, Fuel Power Max.
Independents with carrier authority should be mindful that negotiation strength varies as the week progresses. Typically, the highest rates across major segments are paid for loads negotiated on Sundays, and the highest volume of loads for all segments is seen on Mondays. Also, the weekday that tends to be the best for flatbed negotiations, yielding the best rates. Owner-operators tend to have less negotiation strength on Tuesday, which shows the lowest weekday spread between brokers' offered rates and actual paid rates. Broker offers tend to rise by Wednesday as the end of the week is in sight. This day also seems optimal for the 3 o'clock hustle, so-called for its reliance on that afternoon time of day, when brokers are getting nervous, to improve negotiation strength. Stay mindful of this system to maximize your revenue. Owner-Operator Business 101 is provided by Overdrive's Partners in Business program. Go to overdriveonline.com to the Partners in Business section of the website for more details on this and many other topics. Brought to you by Shell Rotella, with advanced synthetic technology is designed to help keep your rig running with more mileage and less maintenance.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up here on the show following the bottom of the hour, Zuckerberg going to use community notes.
Yeah. Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Because, and the left is furious because they believe it's because Trump's going to become president.
Yeah.
And so because Trump is becoming president, it's fascist for him to even attempt to influence Facebook to have the people.
Yeah, I saw somewhere somebody commented, he fears Trump. He fears Trump. Like
Right.
Trump's going to come after him, Zuckerberg specifically and directly. And it's like, you don't get it.
Right. Well, he fears Trump, and so he must become a fascist and let the people have a say.
Yeah, exactly. Community. We're against community. Says the side that would really actually love to build communes.
Community notes?
No.
We the people, that's fascism.
Daytime is overrated. Nights are where it's at. With Gary and Eric on Red Eye Radio.
Nothing good happens after midnight unless it's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thanks
Well,
so
our
much for being here.
boss stops with nothing good happens on radio after midnight. He doesn't. He doesn't put in the except Red Eye Radio part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you ready?
I don't know.
Ready for
Zuckerberg with the community notes and whatnot.
Here we go. The change to Facebook and Instagram.
All right.
Community notes. No longer will there be official censors. You will be judged by the community, which of course
Is your friends.
is fascism.
Yeah.
Here he is with the announcement yesterday.
Hey everyone. I want to talk about something important today because it's time to get back to our roots around free expression on Facebook and Instagram. I started building social media to give people a voice. I gave a speech at Georgetown 5 years ago about the importance of protecting free expression, and I still believe this today. But a lot has happened over the last several years. There's been widespread debate about potential harms from online content. Governments and legacy media have pushed to censor more and more. A lot of this is clearly political, but there's also a lot of legitimately bad stuff out there. Drugs, terrorism, child exploitation. These are things that we take very seriously, and I want to make sure that we handle responsibly. So we built a lot of complex systems to moderate content. But the problem with complex systems is they make mistakes. Even if they accidentally censor just 1% of posts, that's millions of people. And we've reached a point where it's just too many mistakes and too much censorship. The recent elections also feel like a cultural tipping point towards once again prioritizing speech. So we're going to get back to our roots and focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our policies, and restoring free expression on our platforms. More specifically, here's what we're going to do. First, we're going to get rid of fact checkers and replace them with community notes similar to X, starting in the US. After Trump first got elected in 2016, the legacy media wrote nonstop about how misinformation was a threat to democracy. We tried in good faith to address those concerns without becoming the arbiters of truth. But the fact checkers have just been too politically biased and have destroyed more trust than they've created, especially in the US. So over the next couple of months, we're going to phase in a more comprehensive community notes system. Second, we're going to simplify our content policies and get rid of a bunch of restrictions on topics like immigration and gender that are just out of touch with mainstream discourse. What started as a movement to be more inclusive has increasingly been used to shut down opinions and shut out people with different ideas, and it's gone too far. So I want to make sure that people can share their beliefs and experiences on our platforms. Third, we're changing how we enforce our policies to reduce the mistakes that account for the vast majority of censorship on our platforms. We used to have filters that scanned for any policy violation. Now, we're going to focus those filters on tackling illegal and high-severity violations. And for lower severity violations, we're going to rely on someone reporting an issue before we take action. The problem is that the filters make mistakes, and they take down a lot of content that they shouldn't. So by dialing them back, we're going to dramatically reduce the amount of censorship on our platforms. We're also going to tune our content filters to require much higher confidence before taking down content. The reality is that this is a trade-off. It means we're going to catch less bad stuff, but will also reduce the number of innocent people's posts and accounts that we accidentally take down. Fourth, we're bringing back civic content. For a while, the community asked to see less politics because it was making people stressed, so we stopped recommending these posts. But it feels like we're in a new era now, and we're starting to get feedback that people want to see this content again. So we're going to start phasing this back into Facebook, Instagram, and Threads while working to keep the communities friendly and positive. Fifth, we're going to move our trust and safety and content moderation teams out of California, and our US-based content review is going to be based in Texas. As we work to promote free expression, I think that it will help us build trust to do this work in places where there is less concern about the bias of our teams. Finally, we're going to work with President Trump to push back on governments around the world that are going after American companies and pushing to censor more. The US has the strongest constitutional protections for free expression in the world. Europe has an ever-increasing number of laws institutionalizing censorship and making it difficult to build anything innovative there. Latin American countries have secret courts that can order companies to quietly take things down. China has censored our apps from even working in the country. The only way that we can push back on this global trend is with the support of the US government. And that's why it's been so difficult over the past 4 years when even the US government has pushed for censorship. By going after us and other American companies, it has emboldened other governments to go even further. But now we have the opportunity to restore free expression, and I am excited to take it. It'll take time to get this right, and these are complex systems. They're never going to be perfect. There's also a lot of illegal stuff that we still need to work very hard to remove. But the bottom line is that after years of having our content moderation work focus primarily on removing content, it is time to focus on reducing mistakes, simplifying our systems, and getting back to our roots about giving people voice.
Now,
Yeah.
I'm reading this. A liberal posted this. It said, in what looks like a hostage video, Zuckerberg bends the knee to Trump entirely, doing away with Facebook fact checkers and moving the process to Texas under the guise of protecting free speech.
Hostage video.
And now let's get to two free speech advocates, Jim Acosta and
right.
Brian Stelter on
Right.
CNN. See how they reacted to this.
Right.
All right. By the way, isn't this fun?
Oh, I love it.
I mean,
I love it.
We're both sitting here in a studio.
I love it. I love it.
Outside of Dallas, Texas, waiting for a brutal winter to hit us of maybe, 1 to 4 inches of snow, maybe something like that.
Right.
And
One or fewer inches.
right, and 1 or fewer inches,
According to the Surgeon General.
and low 30 degrees.
Yeah.
Well, I was born in Buffalo, so this is like early June to me.
Yeah.
But with big smiles on our faces in middle of the night.
Yeah.
Having just the time of our lives, as we now play to you Jim Acosta and Brian Stelter.
All right.
Not happy about this at all.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Yeah.
It gets to this broader sense that when people like Elon Musk or Mark Zuckerberg talk about free speech, everybody wants free speech, but it oftentimes seems that...
Oh, that's a lie. No, they don't.
No, the left doesn't want free speech.
They do not want free speech.
No, they do not.
I mean, that's a lie. By the way,
John Kerry doesn't want free speech.
That's by the way, that's disinformation right there.
Boom.
That's disinformation.
Our Red Eye community notes call that false.
Yes. I like this. Red Eye community notes. We had to pause it there. Okay, let's continue. Here we go. All right.
These tech CEOs actually are favoring or preferring a certain kind of speech, right? They're favoring their own speech or their own political preferences and not the actual entire user or the community's speech. The changes announced by Meta today are very much a MAGA makeover, a pro-Trump makeover, and that's going to win Meta some conservative users, but it may repel some liberals. That's the same thing we've seen happen on Elon Musk's X. He's turned it into more of a right-wing platform where he's pro-free speech when it's really pro-Musk or pro-Trump speech.
That's an absolute lie.
False.
I've looked at community notes all the time, and I see somebody out there that is a Trump surrogate that throws out absolute BS,
right?
And they're called out on it, saying that's not true.
You had in recent weeks, two top Democrats, and others have basically said it in not so many words. John Kerry and Hillary Clinton. The First Amendment. That the problem is the First Amendment.
Yeah.
John Kerry said it blocks our agenda. That they don't want the truth out there. This has the left, by the way, including the liberal activists in the media, because they're part of this. They don't want you to be the media.
Yeah.
They don't want you to be the media, and this is what happens. Zuckerberg is looking at something likely what they call the aging problem at Facebook. I don't know so much about Instagram if it's occurring there, but it's an older demographic at Facebook. Well, what would that mean? Well, they're going to be more inclined to want a little bit of political discussion, but also more inclined to be okay with, and I guarantee you their research showed this because they're looking at what's going on over at X. He even mentioned X in there. He referred to X in his statement there. You heard him. Well, the older demographics that are on Facebook, they're okay with this. Community notes, that's fine. No problem with that at all. And the left is imploding and lying. And basically, you just heard him say, well, they only want their kind of speech protected. No, that's actually you guys.
Yeah, that's you guys.
That's the left.
Red Eye Community Notes says, no, it's you guys. Because, well, if you listen to this show, we're not afraid to discuss anything. And we want to know. That's the difference, by the way. We don't want to censor.
No.
We just played them. We don't want to censor.
We play them all the time.
We play if it wasn't for all the audio that we get from the left, we probably wouldn't have a show.
Exactly.
It's an absolute necessity for our show to survive that we actually let you know, not speak for them, but let them speak for themselves.
Yep.
Because, sorry, and so many issues, they're clueless. And they make our arguments for us.
Right.
And we have stated this. Understand that the people that want censoring are the left.
Exactly.
It's not the right. And the two perfect examples, Hillary Clinton, John Kerry. And those are mainstream, old school Democrats that believe that you should be punished for certain types of speech.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you should be censored for certain type of speech. But they actually talked about being punished and about how the First Amendment gets in their way.
It blocks our agenda. Right. That's what John Kerry said.
You can't build a consensus if people are throwing out the truth.
Right. And if everyone can be a fact checker, we've been saying it for years. You know, we don't have a gazillion dollars like Elon Musk, so fewer people listen to what we say. But we've been saying that you've got information available to you. It's the will. Do you have the will to find the truth? Now you've got the ability to find the truth. You only need the will to find the truth. You are the media.
When you say that to somebody in the leftist media, they go, you and I forgot who it was, that was just absolutely insulted. You know, we saw it on social media.
There was a CEO of, was it Axios? CEO?
That was
somebody was speaking at an event of one of the liberal news groups, Vox or Axios or someone, but it was the CEO, and he was furious. He was throwing F-bombs down and everything else.
Because of, you know, you are the media, because Elon Musk said
exactly.
That. You are the media, and you and I went, Eric, are you upset about that Elon Musk is saying that regular people can be the media and be the fact checkers?
He's saying,
does that bother you in the slightest? Is there even a slight irk that, well, we are the professional media.
Yeah, right.
And you should listen to us.
Now, don't go getting a microphone and whatnot. Let's not take it Too far.
Next thing you know, everybody's going to want to be doing podcasts on their own on YouTube, and what a horrendous thing that is.
Not just anybody can do a podcast. It's not like you can just get a microphone and the internet in your home, and you've already got a video camera on your phone. You don't even need a new one. I guess they can.
866-90-RED-EYE.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90-RED-EYE.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Coming up following the top of the hour, a bunch of polling is out there, plus some of the media coverage of the wildfires that you'll want to hear as they talk about the fact that fire hydrants have run out of water.
Oh, man. You and I were just talking about that during the break.
And one of the reasons they're claiming, was it Fox? Is it Fox 11? We'll have coming up here. Yeah, Fox 11. Talking to a real estate developer saying they're not refilling their reservoirs.
Right.
And, we've talked about that. We've talked about how California has not kept up with water.
Right.
How water it rains and, they could have built tons of new reservoirs and just never have.
And they don't. That's madness.
Yep, I know. That and more coming up.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. Thank you.
Hey, I just went out to the break room. They got us some coffee. We were out of coffee in the break room, and I got some American roast coffee. Trump renamed French roast coffee, by the way, if you didn't hear. It's American roast. And if you have two doors that open into one larger doorway, those are American doors, not French doors. Oh, let's get this. Look, we got to hit the ground running. This is going to be so much fun. It's going to be so much fun.
I just loved Ben Shapiro's map, though. That was
I reposted that on X, by the way. I had to. People got to see it.
He's got the map of North America, the Atlantic Ocean, and Central America, and but he's got on United States,
right,
and then Canada's 51st state,
right.
Mexico is the place on the other side of the wall.
Yeah.
then Gulf of Mexico is Gulf of America.
Yeah.
And then Greenland is Trump land. Uh-huh. And then the Atlantic Ocean is the anti-European moat.
I love that. By the way, one of our listeners asked me on social media, where would the 51st star go on the flag? And I'd like to say thank you for listening. And my OCD refuses to answer that question.
No. All the stars that represent the liberal states will be shrunk in size.
Exactly. Or replaced when we're done. This ain't over. We got 4 years. The liberal implosion. It's encouraging on the serious level. It's encouraging that we are more and more rejecting so many of these liberal ideas, and we hope that continues to be the case. But the liberal implosion in the liberal activist media is so much fun to watch. on this whole thing. That's why we're having fun. With
Well,
it.
when we played last hour, the number one, Zuckerberg talking about the fact they're going to go to community notes.
Right.
And then to watch Jim Acosta and Brian Stelter. I mean, two absolute propagandists.
Yes.
Without question. I mean,
Right.
you can't look at it any other way and say they are absolute political activists. They're not journalists.
Right.
As we all know. And for them to sit there and say that they believe in free speech and Zuckerberg and Trump do not,
Right,
is absolutely the most laughable thing you could possibly imagine. It's to the point of gaslighting.
Well, it really is, and that's the whole thing. They now, Zuckerberg is the devil, the new devil, whatever, devil of the day. Devil of the Day award goes to
he's MAGA.
Yeah. The presidential devil medal that he'll get from the president on his way out the door. By the way, speaking of which, CNN's going to really lose it when they find out Zuckerberg later today will announce that the parent company Meta is changing their name to MAGA. Yeah. So, I mean, it's. You and I always look at the business model, but because a lot like Mitt Romney, and it's not the same, it's a newer version, Zuckerberg is a robot. We all know that. And he's very robotic when he does these things. When he was going through that, and we played it earlier. And number 4, who numbers things? What are you numbering? Nobody needs a number. Just make the announcement. Anyway, he's so robotic. It's a business move. It always is. You can't really say that about what Elon did with Twitter, which is now X, because, quite frankly, at least so far, the numbers don't work out. He overpaid for X. Now, I believe that if he holds it long enough, it's going to work out for him. So that's how investments work. But you could tell that once Elon Musk got through the Twitter files, and then in recent years has, turned against liberals and pointed them out and exposed them, there was something to that. What Zuckerberg is doing is a business move, and he mentioned X literally in his announcement when he said community note. He called it community notes. I actually was surprised by that. I thought you couldn't come up with they're very good at coming up with new words, but he's doing this as a business move purely.
By doing so, by using, I think, community notes, he makes it clear what he's doing.
Yeah.
There isn't, if he said, I don't know, society notes, or, well, what does that mean? Community notes, everybody understands now what that means. When you have Stelter and Jim Acosta sitting there and talking about the fact that they're for free speech, and this is, basically about, that Zuckerberg is moving away from free speech because he's getting rid of the fact checkers, as we all know. Who's fact checking the fact checkers? Well, it's the community now. The community gets to do it, and you and I have observed what's going on X, and it's not perfect, but it's a lot better than it was before. It's very simple, and you can look at it. It goes, and it'll say, well, community notes here, and it will say the majority of respondents are saying no. This is what happened here, and I will say this: what I have seen, almost 100%.
Yeah.
When the community notes say this isn't true, it's accurate.
Yeah.
You and I have talked about this for the longest time. We've done this now for decades. This is, my 42nd year in the media, into my 36th year of talk radio. I have never been afraid of what the other side has to say. I want to hear what the other side has to say.
Right.
Our show is dependent on playing the audio from what the other side thinks on a daily issue. The last thing I ever want to do is censor anything.
Yeah.
The last thing you want to ever do is censor anything. The other side wishes to censor anything that doesn't agree with them.
We, over the years, by the way, have said we want the left more and more, and now they're doing it. to own it. If you believe in something, own it. Now, they still lie, of course, and don't own everything, but more and more they're owning, and they're the anti-Semitism, they go out with protest signs and proudly promote their anti-Semitism. I mean, it's insane.
Well,
and I don't mean to interrupt here, but just to be clear and reset for anybody that's new to this program, over the years, we play their audio for a reason, and we want them to talk more because this is what we do.
The perfect example of the censoring that the left wants to do, and the reason they do it is because they cannot defend the positions that they hold. It's that simple.
Yeah.
They cannot defend it. I think one of the most perfect examples is the radical transgender movement. And you and I go back to when Josh Hawley was talking to that professor at the University of Berkeley.
Yeah.
And he asked her, he said, do you believe men can get pregnant? She goes, do you? And he said, well, no, they can't. And he said, I'm trying to figure out where you stand on this whole transgender thing. And she said, well, you're transphobic. He goes, what do you mean? I'm asking questions. I want to find out what you think.
Right.
That's transphobic? Yes.
Yeah.
You shouldn't be asking these questions because if you ask the questions, transgenders have one of the highest rates of attempting suicide, and by you asking questions may encourage that.
Right.
Well, that's, of course, ridiculous.
Right.
What you're trying to say is, I'm trying to become knowledgeable on what you think, and you don't want to tell me what you think, and you're using an excuse that if the truth of what you believe, not that what you're saying is the truth, but the truth of what you believe is out there, and we argue it back and forth, that we can't have that argument because people will commit suicide if you have that debate. Well, that's the perfect answer of censorship, of not having to explain
exactly
what you believe by saying, well, if we just have a discourse of communication, people will kill themselves.
Well, it has all the elements that the left uses,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
You, first of all, virtue signaling for the person saying it.
Right.
Creating the victim,
Right.
And then ignoring also, this is part of their calling card, not that they intend to do this. Actually, maybe they do. I can't tell you. Ignoring the crisis while admitting
Right. Ignore, as we've said,
that it exists.
They ignore the crisis of the suicides. They actually don't care, as we've stated before, about transgenders. You want transphobic? The people that claim they support transgenders, they're the transphobic people because they don't really want to get them help. They're claiming they have this incredible mental problems. And if you say, well, they're committing suicide, well, then there's a mental issue here. That's transphobic to say that they have a mental issue. You're saying we can't have the debate or they'll commit suicide.
Right.
Well, we're not going to talk anymore because somebody might commit suicide because you're saying they have mental problems. You said they had mental problems by saying if we discuss it, they'll commit suicide.
And
I mean, it's
and also, by the way, from the liberal playbook, we're not going to talk anymore. As you said, well, we're not going to discuss it anymore.
Right.
Yeah, but silence is violence. You can't win with these people.
Exactly.
This is why we go back to, this is like talking to an adolescent. That's just, I don't know if you saw it. It went viral several years ago. The little kid talking to his mom, and he calls her Linda. Linda, look. And every time she tries to talk, and it's adorable. But that's the left. They won't listen. They ignore the truth. They have to lie. They virtue signal. And they make up the rules that contradict themselves, contradict their other rules all the time.
You have had a transformation of liberals, of intellectually honest liberals, who were avowed liberals, that became part of the Twitter files. Elon Musk, when he bought Twitter, which became X, he didn't bring in MAGA people.
No.
To go through the Twitter files.
Right.
He did the opposite. He brought in, It was Barry Weiss, Matt Schellenberger, Matt Taibbi.
Yep.
All of them not Republicans, all of them not conservatives. And it terrified, I believe, their reaction. I believe they were terrified when they found out how the federal government through the FBI was intimidating and doing everything they possibly could to censor the truth.
Yeah.
And we know it.
Yep.
We saw it. We saw it with the laptop. We saw it with the New York Post story.
Yep.
They're the ones that wish to censor. It isn't the right that wishes to censor. It is the left. Yep. And you've had all those people that used to be on the left that were terrified by all of this because they've always been, they might have been old school liberals, but they believed in free speech. And they don't believe that the government should be censoring. Then you look at Alan Dershowitz, Jonathan Turley.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Dershowitz. I remember when I was first a talk show host saying, man, this guy is really left.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Everybody knew him. I mean, from our side. I mean, he was.
Now you've got, and he's still a liberal.
Yeah. I mean, he just now came around. I don't know. Did he talk about how he voted? I know he started to, kind of open up the idea of.
Yeah, I don't know if he voted.
I don't remember seeing how he voted.
And then you have Jonathan Turley.
I don't know. Jonathan
Jonathan Turley, the same thing, and you have more. You've got Michael Rappaport,
right?
Who was a raging lunatic liberal.
Yep.
Until he found out, oh my God, I've been lied to.
Right.
They don't want the truth. The left doesn't want the truth to get out there.
And he owned up to it. Look, it's on me for believing the lies.
Yeah.
And I'm learning more and more. Look, over and over again, the left, and, John Kerry saying that the First Amendment, that free speech is blocking our agenda. That should have been the red flag of all red flags when it comes to this whole discussion on free speech or, Meta, social media, posting things, Trump being a fascist. This is what they're talking about. Hillary is saying people should go to prison for lying, for misinformation. That same Hillary that was responsible for the Russian collusion hoax.
Right.
How many lies told during that? That's
that is probably
2 billion consecutive life sentences.
Well, that is one of the biggest propaganda lies that were paid for and created by Democratic campaign money.
It changed
that
changed the course. If she gets a medal,
all a lie.
If she was to get a medal, it should be the presidential liar medal.
Yeah.
For the Russian hoax thing. Right. Because
and she's the one that says disinformation should be punished both civilly and criminally.
Right. You should go to jail. Right.
And there's Stelter talking about the fact that we all believe in free speech.
Yeah, Zuckerberg's the problem.
With him and Acosta. And Zuckerberg is now MAGA.
Right.
These people are crazy.
They are.
They're crazy.
Over the top.
866-90 Red Eye.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Just an update on the wildfires in California. You just told me they just said zero containment right now.
Yeah,
is what you just saw.
And this goes back just a few minutes ago, but L.A. Fire reporting, in fact, this is from the L.A. County Fire Department on their X page. Palisades Fire, 2,921 acres, 0% containment. There are 3 fires now in the L.A. area. Extreme fire behavior, short and long-range spotting continues to challenge firefighting efforts for the Palisades Fire. Wind gusts up to 60 miles per hour are expected to continue through Thursday. Just when you, again, look at the images and the videos coming out here, you keep these individuals, including L.A. Fire, L.A. County Fire Department, LAPD, and all of those officials who are helping to evacuate people and get them to safe ground. You keep them in your thoughts and prayers. By the way, James Woods, who's been posting, and he evacuated yesterday and had a great deal of praise for L.A. Fire and LAPD, saying they were doing a fantastic job. It's maddening. It's just maddening here that, and we go through this every time there's a wildfire. Look, there are things you can't control. They can't control the wind. You can't control the arid air, but the question would be, for me, how much is being done to make sure there are plenty of water reservoirs? You and I have covered this for years. And then we get into, and I don't know how much of this applies and where in terms of the Palisades fire and what's going on near L.A. right now. I don't know. I can't tell you that. But you have to revisit the policy, the things that can be controlled, including things like deforestation, building greater reservoirs, and giving people at least a greater edge when it comes to being able to evacuate safely in something like this, in weather conditions that they can't control, again, like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So all that will be reviewed, I'm sure, but will anything change is the question.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when you choose. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. I want to play this audio here from Fox 11 in L.A., okay. And this is whoever the anchor is. I don't know who the anchor is, but talking to a man by the name of Rick Caruso, who is a real estate developer. And just listen to some of this back and forth, because this is just terrifying. And, if this stuff is all true, it's reprehensible. But here we go.
But their hands have been tied, and they can't fight a fire without water and the resources that are needed. Everybody knew these winds were coming. The other question has to be, were all the things in place to try to, again, mitigate the damage here? But the real issue to me is twofold. We've had decades to go remove the brush in these hills that spread so quickly. And the second is, you got to have water. And my understanding is the reservoir was not refilled in time and in a timely manner to keep the hydrants going. So that's a failure, whether on DWP's part or another city agency. But this is basic stuff. This isn't high science here. And it's all about leadership and management that we're seeing a failure of. And all of these residents are paying the ultimate price for that.
That was going to be my next question, is why isn't there water in the fire hydrants? That doesn't make any sense.
You're right. It's a good question. And I think you should start asking, why don't you call the mayor who's out of the country and ask her and get an answer from her?
Well, they say she's on her way back, and that would be a great question to ask her tomorrow if she's at this briefing at 8 o'clock in the morning, because I think there's a lot of people that are outraged by that fact tonight when they look at scenes like this, at businesses that people have worked really, really, really hard to build, and homes that people's entire livelihoods are going up in flames tonight. So for you, watching this and seeing...
There you go. That's...
things that he's... has experience, again, as you mentioned, in real estate. And when we talk about people's lives, people's property, you talk about the people making the choices. There are things, again, that you can't stop or prevent, like 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts. But guess what? You do know that those high winds are going to happen during certain seasons. You know what you're battling against when it comes to Mother Nature. It's how you prepare for that. It is a very basic instinct when it comes to survival, or should be. And you have fire hydrants that don't have any water because the reservoir wasn't refilled. My gosh. When do you learn? What does it take? Exactly what does it take? One of the three fires, by the way, the Eaton fire, reported just minutes ago that the Eaton fire has quickly expanded to 1,000 acres. The Palisades fire now is just shy of 3,000 acres, and L.A. County Fire reporting in the last half hour or so that the Palisades fire is 0% contained, and they expect wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour all the way through Thursday. And it's so maddening. If it is, he touched on something else there, deforestation. Some of the brush in that area should have been thinned out. Why isn't this happening? Because one of the things that the state of California responded to, I mentioned it earlier, is they had a moratorium on non-renewals when it comes to fire coverage on homeowners insurance. That was linked to, again, certain zip codes and also state of emergency declarations, right? So it was basically they can't give you a non-renewal, issue a non-renewal. They got to give you a full year. If you're in a certain zip code and there is an emergency declaration made. So there, again, a lot of conditions. The state working hard on that. What are they working on when it comes to water reservoirs? What are they working on? These are the basics.
Let me play here. This is a woman being interviewed. This is ABC 7 out of L.A. in the Eaton fire here. Here we go.
They're waving me down. Hi there.
I know I'm not supposed to.
That's fine. You decided not to leave.
I know I'm not supposed to be here, but this is my parents' home.
I know the feeling.
And they just lost. They got canceled from their fire insurance. So they're dealing with this. They're 90 years old. And through the state of California, because of this, they're 90 years old, that they've lived in this house for 75 years, and they've had the same insurance, and these insurance people decided to cancel their fire. And we're going through this, and it just happened, and they have no fire insurance. So thank you, California insurance companies, supporting residents who pay taxes and love California. And they wonder why people leave California.
First and foremost, you did get your parents out safely.
I live in Sierra Madre. My parents are in Sierra Madre, but...
And now you know that it is under evacuation as well, north of Sierra Madre Boulevard.
Yeah, I snuck here. You know, there's a will, there's a way. Probably shouldn't do it, but you know what? Under the circumstances, send me to jail. That's fine.
It is.
Yeah, you can't unpack everything that she's going through in one conversation, obviously.
No.
But you look at it, one thing that really resonates here, she talks about her parents, 90 years old. You put everything into your home. You buy a home. It's all of your wealth, but it's all of your memories. One of the things that we went through, again, we just had a small house fire. I don't want to try and even compare this to.
You don't want to buy. You don't want to Biden.
I don't want to Biden this thing. But I remember going through everything because this was 91, maybe early 92. But you're going through all your belongings, basically. What's left, and you're. I mean, it's your life. It's your, those pictures. We didn't have digital anything back then, so everything was, scrapbooks and pictures and everything else, and all of your belongings, everything, but also your wealth. For many people, all of their wealth. And the insurance companies wouldn't be around either way. If the cost of rebuilding is outpacing what they can cover, well, that business model is going to fail, which means they're going to go under. They're gone. I mean, they're whether they cancel now or they're gone a year or two from now, they have to make that business decision, and it sucks. There's no way around it. But the fact of the matter is, there's a series of choices made leading up to that point that, as we set our items aside and focus on the most precious thing, and that is what you can't replace, lives. Why isn't the state of California making it, at least giving leverage to people that are going through this by filling the reservoirs properly? They've been, by the way, on the reservoir thing, they've been going back and forth for a long, long time. You and I have covered it for a long, long time. Thinning out brush, deforestation, to, at the very least, give people more time to evacuate. If the wind is going to carry those flames, you can't control the wind, but you can control the battle against those elements. And we have here a series of decisions that was made by people in charge that refused to do the right thing. And again, this isn't from just this one set of wildfires. You and I and many in what we do have been talking about this for a long time about California, and it's a shame.
Just reading here 42 minutes ago, James Woods, he goes, he's got a video. He goes, I took this last night from our beautiful little home in the Palisades. Now all the fire alarms are going off at once remotely. It tests your soul, losing everything at once, I must say. And he had said earlier he believes his home is gone.
Yeah.
And the houses on his block were all gone, and he had to leave. When I saw the flames, they didn't seem to be far away at all from his backyard pool.
He posted a video, I don't know, it was from 10 hours ago, and it was right as they were evacuating, right before they were on their way out. But it was from their deck, and the flames are right there. The flames are right there. And he posted with the video, our deck 3 minutes ago, and he posted that 10 hours ago. And again, I think of this, the audio we just played, her parents, your whole life, your home, they've lived there for decades. It's everything. It's all the memories. It's everything, and it's, for most people, it's the brunt of your wealth.
Yeah.
It's everything.
Most people, it is their wealth.
And gone. At some point, I have to say it again, you can't afford to stay.
You know, some of the most terrifying photos and video comes from James Woods and his X page.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
The one where he shows our neighbor's friend sent this video evacuating our area. I mean, there's just fire all along the road as you're going down. I can't imagine it. It looks like, you know what it looks like? It looks like you're in the middle of, being a couple of miles from a volcano that just went off.
That's really what it looks like.
What it looks like, yeah.
And, the Eaton fire rapidly getting to 1,000 acres. LA County Fire Department posting in the last hour that on the Palisades fire, zero containment, 0%, with 60-mile-an-hour wind gusts in the forecast through Thursday. This thing is, I don't know what you do. I mean, I don't know how far this thing goes.
Yeah, it's terrifying. And I'm sorry, I just was silent there because I'm just looking through some of this video here, and it's just absolutely devastating. What's going on? Palisades fire. The Palisades fire burns at least 2,900 acres. Threatens now 10,000 homes.
Yeah. I mean, again,
there's
praying everybody gets out and evacuates safely here.
I'm sorry, but there's no way it should have this things in a remote area. I can see it. No way this should be happening in suburbs.
No, you're right. You're right.
Otherwise, suburbs shouldn't be built in those areas. I remember
the fire that was got close to, in fact, right up on the hill there at South Lake Tahoe. This goes back a few years, and it was off season. There's a ski resort there, Heavenly Ski Resort, and they were actually using some of the cannons that they use, to blast snow during the winter, and shooting water through them and battling that. But there were stories that came out of that of people that lived in more remote areas, and always tragic. But in an area like L.A., tell me what reason they would have for not having water in the reservoirs.
86690 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Yeah, just saw this from LA Scanner. Early reports of a fourth fire now in the Woodland Hills area of Los Angeles. And looking at some of the reports at ABC 7 talking about the fact that this goes back over an hour ago, that the fire could grow as far into Santa Monica and West LA through the night. You look at this, that's a legitimate suburb with houses everywhere. I think that's where they're talking about.
Yeah.
10,000 homes at risk.
And the Eaton fire getting up to 1,000 acres 6 hours after it started. Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One. Now, it's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across America and around the planet, we are Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We'll keep you updated as to the latest on all the wildfires outside of L.A. Now, the one report from L.A. Scanner, a fourth fire near Woodland Hills, and it's just it's very tough to look at. Just looking at was it L.A. Scanner?
Yeah, right.
And going down through all the different reports there, it's like, oh my gosh, and these, it's terrifying. I mean, to me, it looks like. What was a movie that I saw? It had, with the volcano blowing off. It looks like you're in the middle of volcanic ash and everything else, and there's a volcano that just blew up near you, and it's just raining fire everywhere. I mean, it's a hellscape right now, and so we'll keep you updated as to the latest on that. In other news, as we know, Oh, I do want to play. Let me just play this clip first here before I get to the other one I wanted to play, because this was like, what in the world? And to show you how Democrats have nothing right now. I hope I have it here. Yeah, here it is. The debate went on over the Lake and Riley Act.
Yeah.
Which is the fact that if you steal something, if you're illegally in the country, you steal something, you get deported.
Right.
And Fetterman said yesterday, Senator Fetterman, the Democrats, said if they can't get 7 Democrat senators to vote for this, that's why they lost.
Yeah.
And it's why they'll continue to lose. But I want to play when the debate was going on. 159 Democrats voted against the Lake and Riley Act. 159 Democrats. Now, you say, can they defend what they believe? Let's go to Jamie Raskin, okay? Mm-hmm. Here we go. All right.
We won't be lectured by our colleague that we don't stand up for the American people. The author of this legislation actually yesterday sent out a tweet, social media statement characterizing the January 6th violent assault on this chamber.
So they went right to January 6th.
Right.
Would not touch the Lake and Riley Act.
Right
to January 6th.
Yep.
Now, the fact is they live in their own little bubble, but as we have stated, and others, I mean, Scott Jennings, I think, on CNN has done a great job of explaining it. The American people have digested all of this, and the American people digested it, and then they looked at it and they went, what has Biden done? Oh, Biden's worse. We want Trump.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's how it went.
Yeah.
But overall, you and I have been together now 20 years come this July.
Right.
We've worked together. And there's a lot of things we've analyzed about the Democratic Party. And the majority of it we've been absolutely right on. That doesn't come from ego. It comes from, looking back and saying, were we accurate in what we say was going on in the Democratic Party? And what we use as I guess, evidence is when you hear what Democrats who are being intellectually honest now say. This is Julian Epstein, a Democratic strategist and a Democrat, was on Fox yesterday. And just listen to this because he goes through everything. And Eric, it's almost as if we gave him our talking points. All right, here we go. All right.
And there were hundreds of examples after 21 that showed that Biden wasn't up for the job, and Democrats sort of participated in this gaslighting to the American public that he was ready for a second term when they were preaching all of this moral superiority about democracy. There's nothing more undermining to democracy than gaslighting, lying to the public that the guy, the most powerful man in the world, is up for the job when he's not. So I think this was, I think Obama and Schumer and Pelosi bear a lot of the blame for this. I think if there was a recall effort and you could put the question to voters, they would recall them from their leadership positions, even though these are sort of, these are not formal positions. They are positions of influence within the party. But I think people have sort of lost trust in them. I think the Obama era is also over because, Obama, the second term of Obama signaled really the beginning of this religion called demography is destiny, where Democrats just simply believe if they showered different demographic minority groups with all kinds of welfare patronage and rhetorical patronage about victimhood, that they would forever vote Democrats. And I think that was a faulty theory that developed in about 2012 and 2013. It's sort of the religion that's governed the Democrats for the last 12 years. And it proved to be a very false idol, a very false worship when the party, the demography is destiny, forced the party to go so far left on identity politics. Everyone is a victim. The system is unfair. We have more opportunity in this system than any system that humankind has ever produced. And people just started to think that Democrats had lost common sense. They felt it in their
America's
wallets.
a terrible place, a racist place for white people only.
People don't believe that. Black people don't believe that. If you poll black and brown people about questions of affirmative action and all of the stuff that went along with identity politics, whether it's gender or whether it's race preferences, they don't believe it. So they didn't believe the cultural left ideological religion that destiny, demography is destiny, led the Democrats to, and they didn't like what they saw in the economic results because the whole premise of the philosophy was to grow the government, grow the welfare state as much as you can, and then shower people with patronage. Student loans is an example of that. The Build Back Better, $5.6 trillion of greater welfare spending was an example of that. Even parts of the Green New Deal, which is, hopefully some of that is successful, but the criticism of that is that there's a lot of corporate patronage going on there. So what Democrats stopped doing in 2012, Brian, during the second phase of the Obama administration, was they went towards big government patronage and they stopped building. And the reason that I think Democrats lost so badly was because they are a party that is perceived all about identity politics, big government spending, managed decline on the global scene, and they've stopped building. They've stopped building in a meaningful way, particularly for working men and women of America as we go into the fourth phase of the Industrial Revolution.
There you go. Now, I disagree with him on the Green New Deal, but that shows you that he is a Democrat.
Right.
And he is a liberal Democrat, but he understands exactly what we have said. And I'm so glad that he went back to Obama, because most people don't. We do. And you know how critical we've been on Obama and how the people that voted for him, you were played as one of the biggest fools ever in American presidential political history. You bought into the con game of hope and change. And what was he about? He wasn't about bringing people together.
Nope.
Identity politics, as Julian Epstein talks about right there, that's where it hit big time. It was Obama who really started the identity politics where you judge people by groups and not individuals. You have victims, you have oppressors. Julian Epstein brought that all up. Identity politics. And as we've said, identity politics is judging people as a group and not as individuals. Obama was the one that really started it. Obama was the one that started the narrative of police hating in this in this country. And I'm so glad that Julian Epstein went back, because normally, even if you've got a Democrat being intellectually honest, they don't go back to Obama. They sort of stop at Biden, and they don't go back all the way to where it really started and the huge con game that Obama played on the American people that so many, American citizens suckers bought into.
Well, and I'm glad you mentioned the exception that you have when it comes to the Green New Deal. It is an important note, and I share in that exception because it's a massive lie. It's one of the other things that they've created. Very different from identity politics, but the same kind of tactic in lying that this is because it's motivating through fear. The world is going to end. Green New Deal needs to happen because the planet's going to end. Well, you motivate through fear with identity politics. So it's the same basis. But more and more people on the left, prominent people looking at this, saying we can't do this approach anymore. You and I brought up briefly yesterday, and we've talked about how many more companies are backing out of this DEI thing. Because it doesn't get you anywhere. And the reason is, years ago, we've been saying it. We go through our daily lives. Then everybody cooperates and, it's not 100%, but we get along as a society. Well, unless you listen to the left, and the left has to peddle that fear and try to motivate people through fear by lying to them over and over and over again. But especially in the workplace, when it gets to a point, that DEI thing was dangerous for companies because you're creating division within your own workforce. And you can't do that. The left is doing that politically, and we've been saying at some point they can't keep doing it because you create more and more victims, and even people on the left become oppressors, which means you're dividing your own side as well as the other side.
I think one of the perfect examples, he didn't bring this one up specifically, but we have, where the Democratic Party is so out of touch, but the reason they're doing it is so you can have fraud in elections, is voter ID. If you look at voter ID, we've done all the different polls on it. It's even across the board.
Yeah.
Plus or minus, it's even across the board.
Yeah.
Whether you're a minority, whether you're not, whether you're a woman, whether you're a man, it doesn't matter where you stand. People want voter ID because they understand it stops fraud. You see in California, they just passed the law where even municipalities cannot have voter ID.
Right.
You can't have it
Right.
because California Democrats, the party itself, wants voter fraud.
Yep.
The actual Democratic voter doesn't want fraud. This is how out of touch they are, and how they sell it is the fact that if you have voter ID, it's racist.
Right.
Blacks don't believe that.
Nope.
Hispanics don't believe that.
Nope.
Any marginalized group doesn't believe that. Only the Democratic Party is selling that to themselves in order to ensure that fraud can happen in elections.
Yep.
There's no other reason.
No.
It's not like minorities are demanding that voter ID be gone.
Right.
They're not. They want voter ID.
Right.
Every single poll shows that. The Democrats, though, this is the party, the state party and the federal party, they want fraud, and they want fraud not to be detected. And fraud is not detected if you force every municipality that voter ID or any form of identification to vote is illegal.
Right.
And that's what's going on in California.
Yep.
And I think that's the absolute perfect example. And he hit it completely on democracy. The left went crazy when the polls showed that more voters believed that Donald Trump would protect democracy over Joe Biden. And Julian Epstein brought up the reason why. Because everybody knew, or everybody believed, everybody knew that Biden wasn't capable and is not now capable of being president of the United States. He doesn't have the cognitive abilities, and they don't believe he's running the country. Well, you can't accuse the other side of wanting to get rid of democracy when the public believes that somebody else who is not elected, the aides to the president, are running policy and the president isn't.
Right.
And that came from right from the mouth of one of a decades-long Democratic strategist and Democrat, Julian Epstein.
Yep.
Everything that we have said, we were not throwing propaganda at you. We were telling you the truth. We were telling you what was going on. And now we get the evidence constantly as Democrats who now are being, some Democrats who are being intellectually honest, are saying the exact same thing that we said the Democratic Party is doing,
right,
and where the problem lies.
Right.
And the question I would ask him is, well, how do they get out of it? How do they change it?
How do you change it? Because you have to change it fairly quickly. This happened, as he says it happened, going back to the Obama years, and really took off in 2012. I mean, it was building along the way even before that. But let's just say, okay, 12 years. Well, to undo that. Because it's not just that political tactic. It's also the mindset, the culture that you create. In order for people to spread a lie, you have to make them believe the lie.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a lie if they believe it. It's their truth. Right?
Yes.
If you want your children to lie for you to the cops, you got to lie to your kids. I'm sorry, taking some personal things and mixing it in there. If you, sorry,
I thought you were just throwing out the Costanza narrative.
Well, and George, but no, seriously, in order to spread the propaganda, you got to make them believe it.
Yeah.
You've created a culture that now how do you undo that? That's their truth. And you're going to tell them it's not? I don't, sorry, I don't think you can do it.
Yeah, their truth is they're a victim, and now you're going to unite the party by saying you're no longer a victim?
Everything of that they are. You see these radicals, they're a victim first for a number of reasons. Now you're going to say they're not?
866-90 Red Eye.
Brought to you by Hot Shot Secret.
Hi, I'm Jen Loomis, a transport safety expert at J.J. Keller. and I'm here to share a tip on compliance, safety, accountability. Compliance, Safety, Accountability, or CSA, is the FMCSA Safety, Compliance, and Enforcement Program. Its goal is to hold motor carriers and drivers accountable for highway safety and to reduce crashes, injuries, and fatalities on our roads. CSA does this by assessing the safety performance of motor carriers and drivers based on data collected during roadside inspections, crash reports, and FMCSA investigations. Based on the data that is compiled, motor carriers are assigned a score. The carrier is then grouped with other carriers who have had a similar number of safety events. Carrier scores within the group are then ranked to determine intervention priority. Low scores are better, so carriers with the highest scores are those that are most likely to be targeted for intervention by the FMCSA. Interventions range in severity and may include warning letters, roadside, off-site, or on-site inspections, civil penalties, or operation out-of-service orders. This tip was brought to you by J.J. Keller and Associates. Visit us at jjkeller.com.
Lines open for your calls. 866-90-RED-EYE on Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome. And good morning. Thanks so much for being here this morning. So, I thought it was really interesting to play that Julian Epstein audio cut yesterday from Fox News because it shows exactly what we have said. We're not wrong analyzing the Democratic Party. We're not. We're right on where they've gone. Identity politics have led them. Identity politics, Julian Epstein didn't say it, but identity politics is racism.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if he got into further in the discussion. We played a couple of minutes of it. I think it was a longer interview. If he got into the incredible, unscientific, bizarre misogyny of the radical transgender movement. Mm-hmm. I mean, because that's something else where people look at it and just go, you're not normal. This isn't normal. Your argument to defend the radical transgender movement is not normal.
Right.
Your claim that you're doing it because you're compassionate doesn't connect the dots. You're not compassionate. If you're communicating that transgender people have horrible mental problems, because that's what they're communicating when they say you can't talk about it because they'll commit suicide. In any other medical arena, that would be viewed as having a serious mental problem, correct?
Right.
That
exactly.
you would want to solve.
Right.
Well, what they're saying is, no, you don't try to solve it. You just grant them whatever wish they want in their particular state.
Right.
Well, no, that's not how it's done.
Navigating the Bizarrosphere. Every night, Eric Harley and Gary McNamara. Red Eye Radio.
And he is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Good morning and welcome. All right, you ready for some polls?
All right, what do you got?
All right. Oh, man, this is great.
Okay.
President Joe Biden is the second worst president in American history, a Gallup poll found on Tuesday.
Second?
Yes. Second. 54% of Americans say Biden will be remembered as below average. 37%, will be remembered as below average, 37%, or poor, 17%. Only 19% say he will be remembered as outstanding, 6% or above average. Excuse me here. Only 19% say he will be remembered as outstanding. 6% above average, 13% not good. The only president with the worst overall rating than Biden is Richard Nixon. Okay, where's Trump in here? Because they have John Kennedy, number 1.
Right.
Ronald Reagan, number 2. Barack Obama, number 3. George Herbert Walker Bush, number 4. Jimmy Carter, number 5. Bill Clinton, number 6. George W. Bush, number 7. Joe Biden, number 8. Richard Nixon, number 9. Where's Trump? They don't have Trump in there.
Maybe because he's been elected to another term and he wasn't a choice until after it's done. I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Maybe.
Okay, I could see that. Yeah, he's not in this.
Yeah.
Survey. But.
Yeah, we'll wait until it's over. Thing. Yeah. Okay.
And they mentioned that Trump disagrees with it. Trump believes that Biden is the worst president.
Yeah.
In American history.
Yes. By far, in my opinion.
Look, if you want to look at it, the reason is when you look at this president, it'd be interesting to look at all the issues of every president. This is really the first time where it's been so blunt that you have had an American president work against the best interest of the people of the United States.
Yep.
You know, we've talked about Democrats who want to make it harder for people, but when you look at everything that Biden has done, because the focus is on Biden and what he has done over 4 years, and when you look at the gaslighting that's also been involved, where people look at it and say, okay, the border, for example, he created it. Inflation, he created it.
Yeah.
Enabling terrorists, he did it.
Yep.
Biden's problems, and the American public, I think the majority of the American public believes this, the problems were not organic, and Biden didn't have the ability to solve it. We talked about the difference between Jimmy Carter, for example, and a Biden. Jimmy Carter was looked at as somebody who cared about the country, I think by a significant portion of the people, whether it's a majority or not, I don't know, but he was looked at somebody who cared. They didn't view him as mean. They viewed him as incompetent.
Yeah.
That's how he was viewed. These problems were out there. He couldn't solve them.
Right.
Biden can't solve the problems because he created them.
Right.
He doesn't wish to solve them. Right. And that's a whole different ballgame. Whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
For any president out there. Even Trump. You look at Trump, remember, and wasn't after he was out, wasn't he viewed as the worst? Weren't there some polls saying he was the worst?
Yeah. Yeah.
But now when you look at it, 4 years later, people look at Trump and say, well, no, I agree with what he wants to do. He wants to do these things, and he wants to reverse the things that the other administration did, because the other administration, the Biden administration, did things that hurt people.
Right.
These things hurt people. Inflation hurt people. Open borders hurts American citizens.
Right.
His foreign policy gets Americans killed. And so, yeah. And see, the United States has had a number of presidents who are often criticized as being the worst in history. Those include Andrew Johnson, Woodrow Wilson, Lyndon Johnson, and Barack Obama and George W. Bush. They have for different reasons in here. So I wouldn't view George W. Bush as the worst. I understand when they bring up Obama, if people said that, because Julian Epstein brought it up. It all started. Identity politics really was institutionalized. The identity politics, the racism that we see, and then the misogyny of the radical transgender movement really took hold in the Obama administration. Yeah. The cop hating without question began with Obama opening up his mouth before the facts were in.
Yeah, I mean, to the extent of what he opened the door to and what he created, what he started, put in motion during his years in office. Look, the word worst is a big word, but all the boxes are checked from Biden. If you want to talk about it.
Right,
because it's everything.
It's everything.
It's everything. Inflation, the border, national security, everything. You know, the deal with the Taliban to get Americans. Well, that wouldn't have happened in Afghanistan. I want the Americans that are there to come home, to come to back to the U.S. Without a doubt. But it's frustrating knowing that the botched exit of Afghanistan is what caused it. Under the leadership of Joe Biden, we wouldn't be here negotiating with the enemy if not for him. And I hope they can get those Americans home. I don't know what's going to happen, what the deal is going to end up being, but it's tragic that we have to be in this place all over again. Now, I mean, you look at inflation. When you can say, when we say worst, and I say he checks all the boxes, because it is everything. Inflation is everything. Inflation, as we have mentioned, hits everyone. No one is unaffected by inflation. It's different degrees, you know, if you got Elon Musk or Warren Buffett money, but you're still affected. There's no one that's not affected by inflation. And then I would say even then with like an investor like Buffett, you know, I mean, how many roadblocks are put up as, and I don't know. I mean, you'd have to list all of them, I guess, in terms of the economy. That's what investors do. They look at the economy, what's going on, the behavior of consumers and the American public, and they invest accordingly. And again, going back to the border, well, that's a threat to everybody because the enemy is also coming across the border, not just people who want to come here and make a life for themselves or anything like this. That's what the left wants you to believe. National security, of course, all of that speaks for itself, those two words.
All right, this poll was released on Monday by the Parents Defending Education Group. They're a grassroots organization working to reclaim schools from activists imposing a harmful agenda. This was done by the pollster CRC Research. Did this 1,000 parents with children parents with children under 18 years or under in their household. It was done at the end of December. Now you can look at it and say, okay, they have a bias in there, and they may have a bias. They definitely do have a bias. I don't know whether the pollster had a bias in their polling, though, CRC or not. But a majority of U.S. parents, because I will say this did surprise me, a majority of U.S. parents support reducing the size influence of the Department of Education. The majority of U.S. parents support reducing the size and influence of the U.S. Department of Education, according to polling released. They found that 52% of parents back scaling back of the Department of Education, 45% oppose doing so, 3% are unsure. Republican parents, 67%, independents, 53%, Democrats, 29% support reducing the size and influence of the Department of Education. I thought that just because they call themselves the Department of Education, maybe the public is paying a lot more attention now. Well, but I always thought that if you say you're going to get rid of the Department of Education, you'll have people say, yeah, I'd rather have local schools run it, but there's a ton of money that comes from the federal government. That's how I thought a significant portion would look at it.
Yeah. I wonder how much of this changed as a result of homeschooling during COVID.
No, you make a great point. I hope this is accurate.
Yeah, I hope this is accurate too. And I hope it continues to be the trend. Because a lot of parents were learning about what goes on in the classroom as the classroom became the living room. And the parents were also their office became that same living room. And so they're kind of sitting in that classroom. And a lot of people on the left don't really want that. Remember, Swalwell was one of them. McAuliffe, when he ran for governor in Virginia, you don't have any place in your kid's classroom. Well, during COVID, it was the case because kids were at home. And so many parents could experience what was going on with their kids during that learning process. So I wonder how much of this changed during that time.
Now, the same poll, and this what might give it credibility to me because this seems to mirror other polling out there, U.S. parents of all political stripes oppose gender ideology in schools. A survey from PDE, again, found that 75% of parents oppose teachers, counselors, school nurses, classroom aides, coaches, or administration withholding information about a child's identity from their gender identity from their parents.
Yeah.
88% of Republicans, 72% of independents, 58% of Democrat parents. Strong majorities of every ethnicity agree. 76% of white parents, 79% of black parents, 69% of Asian parents, and 73% of Hispanic parents believe that no school should hide anything about what a child says their gender identities to the school. That should not be kept from the parent. Now, look at that, because you've got 79% of black parents, 73% of Hispanic parents, again, the minorities that still favor the Democratic Party, even though to a lesser degree, and the numbers for blacks higher than whites that object to the school keeping that from the parents, which shows that the Democrats in Congress, every single one of them who vote for the radical leftist gender narrative, are completely out of touch with their own party.
Yep.
Because they have all, when the equity bill came up, every single Democrat in Congress voted for it.
Right.
Every single one that voted that day voted for it, and voted that a boy can be a girl if the boy says so.
Right. They didn't feel pressured by their constituents.
No, not at all. Nope. So there you go, the latest polling. Oh, the polling's going to be fun over the next couple of years, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
866-90 Red Eye.
Get in touch with Red Eye Radio, toll free at 866-90 Red Eye.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. You know, looking at the wildfires around L.A. now, and 4 of them, I guess, now.
Yeah.
And you just think about the winds are supposed to keep up until tomorrow, another 24
Through
hours.
Thursday, according to the L.A. County Fire Department, they said that wind gusts up to 60 miles an hour through Thursday. You look at how fast the Eaton fire, from its beginning, within 6 hours, was to 1,000 acres. Palisades fire, now 3,000 acres. The story coming out yesterday that authorities were telling people, get out of your car. You've got to get out of the way of this because, you know, the congestion wasn't, you've got to get out of the way of these flames. So people were having to abandon their cars and get out as they were evacuating. What a scary situation it is around L.A. right now.
Calling bulldozers to come in and move those vehicles out of the road.
Right. Wow.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.